we go. Here's my lovely background that I made, as I showed you last week. And I promised you yellow this week, yellow daffodils everywhere. I've just got some really lovely ones coming out in my garden at the moment, and they're just completely yellow, and they're the most gorgeous colour. So I'm still feeling very inspired by this. And I wanted to show you, there's so many possibilities here that you could play with. You know, you can be using a simple shape like this that I created, and you can use that to cut out like a whole daffodil background like that, a whole daffodil back. Or you can do what I've done here, where I've cut petal shapes out like that, and then I've assembled them as a daffodil, which I do like. I really like the way that feels more organic, but I think there's no harm in having, you could have a mixture of these things going on. So you could be putting, you know, different things. You can have what you like. These are your daffodils, and you can do what you like. So this one's got satin, yellow satin bonded onto some Vilene on the back. I cut the middle out because I had it joined together with something else, and I undid it, so that could do with a middle in it. I feel as though that's very flat, but obviously I haven't stitched round that yet, so that might change if I stitch into it. Okay, this one here, I took some of my soft sort of shirt fabric, which is like this kind of soft organza fabric, and I think I just stitched that onto some Vilene. I did it in a square, and then I stitched round the pattern like this. I stitched around the pattern, and so I created that. Again, that's got quite a nice feel to it, but it's quite, you know, if you mix and match these, I think you'll get a much nicer feel in some ways. So this one I've had a little play with putting some of this. I love this stuff, but I couldn't quite work out how to get it to be. It makes a lovely circle like this, okay, and then it's a question of how you actually sew it down onto something. It doesn't quite work unless perhaps you hand stitched it. So I feel that this yarn actually works better. So I'm not so keen on that one, but if I put that on top of that, you know, I've got a single central part there, and then I've got some more fabric coming around the outside of that, so I quite like the complexity of that. And this one's quite fun. So they're all slightly different, and I think what I might do is I think I'll mainly use these ones. I think I like these ones where the petals are, this one's a bit thinner, so I could perhaps have some different sizes and just keep it pretty much similar with the lace. These have all got the lace on top of the soft fabric. So I'll show you what I've done. Sorry, not the soft fabric, the satin fabric. So what I've got here is I've got a layering system. I've got some lace, and I've got some satin, and I've got some Vilene on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron that down. And I don't know if you can see all the pencil marks on there. If I put it this way, you might be able to see. So each daffodil needs 6 petals. So I had to number them so I knew how many I've got. So I've got 6 petals for each daffodil. So 6 sets, 5 actually, 5 sets of 6 petals each. I'm going to make 5 daffodils in total. So that looks like an awful lot, but I'll soon whiz that round with my sewing machine. And as I say, I'm going to iron it on first because this is iron-on stuff, and I thought, well, that'll make it nice and stable then for stitching. And I'm going to stitch it from the back because I've drawn these on the back, and I think that'll make it much easier. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then I will cut them out and I will assemble them. I need to make some more of these centres, these little centre bits, and then we'll be good to go to assemble the finished picture. So I'm really enjoying this. I think the colour is just absolutely gorgeous. What I'd like to do at the end, I'm still playing around with the one I did last week. I'm still playing around with that one, and what I'm going to do with it, I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to find a way through. But I'm going to focus on this one for now. Okay, so I'm going to iron that on, and then we'll do some stitching around those petals and get them cut out. Right, so I have got my machine set up for free machine embroidery. I've lowered the feed dog teeth, and I've got my lovely little darning foot on here. I'm just going to actually move that in a little bit because sometimes it waggles itself free and gets in the wrong place. So I'm going to just pull that, make sure that's tight. and in. Okay, so I've put in the top thread. I've got a lovely lemony yellow, and I've got the same thread in the base because I'm going to be stitching through from the back to the front. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just going to start somewhere. It doesn't really matter where I start. And I'm just going to go around these outlines that I've drawn roughly. Oops. See, very roughly. I think it doesn't really matter. I'm not too concerned as long as I've got enough space to cut them out. There's a little bit of toing and froing there to start it off. So it's going to take me a little while, but it's quite a nice little job to do. As usual, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for good enough. And I just want the effect of these daffodils. Nice effect. So let's just stop there a second so I can just have a little peep. That looks okay. I would just want to make sure that it's not looping or doing anything funny underneath. So this is going to take me a little while, so I think I'll show you this lot when I've done them. Okay, best laid plans here. I have to confess, I was merrily cutting out my little petals, and I got a really nice pile of petals, and I was having a really nice chat with you, and then I realised that actually I wasn't recording it, so that was really very amusing. So here we go. This was a whole piece. You have to imagine now, that was a whole piece of the petals ready to be cut out. And I was just taking my lovely orange scissors and cutting them out. Stitch them twice round from this side. You can see it's all just joined up. I've gone from one petal to the next. I actually didn't iron it down. I've just used the violin as though it's a normal violin. The only downside to that is my petals might fray a little bit, but if I don't handle them too much, they'll be okay, I think. And basically I've got a heat gun, so I could actually heat gun the edges and that'll seal them a little bit. So I'm just going to cut a few more of these out. It's a really lovely, relaxing thing to do. You know, I've got nowhere else to be but in my studio cutting these petals out. And although it's a bit like life, it seemed like an awful lot to cut out to start with. It seemed a little bit overwhelming, but I think once you start doing this, you just do one at a time, and as many as you want to in any session. Nobody says you have to cut them all out at once. There's no rules. Definitely no rules in my studio at all. And it's such a lovely sound. As I say, the sound of the scissors is just really very relaxing. It's a very soothing activity. I don't know about you, but I started watching ASMR videos a few years ago. If those of you don't know what that is, it's ASMR. If you Google it, it's a kind of video where people create these lovely, slow, relaxing videos for you to watch, and it's all about what's it about? It's about the sound of things. It's about doing things really slowly. So they would, if I was an ASMR video, you know, they'd be making use of this gentle sound down here, and certainly the scissor cutting bit is really nice. And somehow watching them just makes me feel so relaxed. I think some people get tingles down their spine and through their body when they watch them, but I don't get that. But I do get a nice relaxation from them. You know, 5 minutes of an ASMR video and I'm ready to go to bed and go to sleep. It's wonderful. So anyway, this is a sort of a little version of that in a way, because it's very gentle and slow. And I just love this crisp sound of the scissors cutting through this. It's quite mesmerising. Anyway, so I will finish off cutting these out. And then I need to make some more centres. I haven't got enough of these little fellas, so I need to make a few of those, and then I'll be ready to put them onto the background. Okay, so what I have got now is I have cut out all of those little petals. That's the backs, and I've just got them piled up in little piles of 6 because I thought that would be helpful so I know what I've got where. And then these I've got ready to, I'm going to whiz around on the sewing machine and then I'll cut them into circles. I thought it was easier to do that after I'd stitched them because I'll know roughly what shape they need to be. So those are my centres, and what I'm going to do once I've stitched them in places, first of all I need to do the petals, and I've got here a little piece of stabilizer. This one's Stitch and Tear, which is my favourite, and I'm going to take each of these little piles, and what I observed when I went around the village the other day and I was really looking closely at the daffodils, the petals aren't arranged as you might think. They don't sort of go round like this. They seem to go that you have a 3 set of petals, sort of like a propeller on an aeroplane or something, and then the top ones go on top of there like that, which I think is quite interesting really. Nature does amazing things. So if I take I've got a centre here, so that will then go in the middle of there, and that'll be my daffodil. So I'm going to line them all up and get them onto the Stitch and Tear. I'm using this because it'll just keep it all in place. It's somewhere to keep it all in place while I sew it. I'll just put a couple of circles of stitching on. Oh, can you hear my geese out there? They've decided to join in on the filming. I don't know if you could hear that, but they're quite loud. There we go. And so that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so I've cut myself a little piece of Stitch and Tear because I'm being very economical, because I thought all I need really is a little bit for the middle of these little daffodils. So I'm just going to pin the petals on, and I'll do them 3, and then I'll do the 3 on top. This is quite a nice little job really. I've got nothing else to do, put some music on or sing to myself. And it just goes together quite nicely. What a nice little job to do. No hassle, just quietly pinning things on in my studio. Isn't that nice? Here we go. Nice and easy. And then, so that's now ready for me just to whiz a bit of stitching around the middle. Obviously I've got pins in there, so what I'll do is I'll stitch a little bit and I'll just work around really slowly so I don't do my needle and my sewing machine any damage. If I have pins in like that, I'm always really careful. Somebody asked me about it recently and I thought, yes, I do sometimes stitch over pins, but I am awfully careful how I do it. It's not probably the best practice. You could tack those in, and possibly actually what you could do is pin them slightly further out, because all you need actually is access to that centre bit. So you could, you know, move them further out, or you could pin 3 on at a time and sew, and then sew the next lot. You know, whatever suits you, whatever floats your boat. So those are done and ready to stitch. And over here what I've done is, again, I'm being very economical with my stabilizer. I kind of, and you can see on the back there, I've just stitched the little round circles of where I've done the stitching, and I've very carefully kind of pushed these up together. Terribly sort of economical with my fabrics today. And I just thought I didn't really want to use a great big piece and spread them out because it's not really necessary. And the beautiful thing about Stitch and Tear is I can just do this, and you just tear it off around each one, and then you've got quite a lot left over for another little job. It's amazing how a little tiny bit of Stitch and Tear can be useful for odd little sampling or things like that. So I don't throw any of it away, and I do recycle the paper because it is just paper, I think. That's quite pretty like that, actually. I quite like that if you want to do, you know, make something else. That's quite lovely. Oh dear me, far too many things to distract me. So I'm going to go and sew these, get these done, and then we'll see where we are with getting them onto the background, which is going to be lovely, I think. So there we go. That's the end of my daffodil extravaganza. Thank you for watching them all. If you've seen all the videos, it's been an experimentation time, and I've tried different things and I've played around, and it's been really good fun, and I think I'm really quite pleased with what I have created. I've gone from a simple green background through a process of making lots of different yellow bits, And so I have finished both pieces and I'm going to show you what they look like now. So this is piece one. This is the piece I used my embellishing machine on to create a simple green background, and then I've added slices and pieces of yellow fabric and the little centres, and so that's what that looks like now. It's quite soft, but it's got a lot of texture going on in it, which I really like. It's got a nice soft sort of focus feel to it. And the second piece, which I've just completed, was this piece here, which you can see it's very different. It's exactly the same colours, but it's so different because it's got a lot more definition going on with them having the petals sticking out. It's a lot more, these are a lot stiffer than the other ones, and obviously they're not flattened down onto the background, so they're very different. So this is piece number 2. And this piece, I actually thought if I took some pins, and I'll just quietly do this while I'm talking to you. I've got my little pin cushion just here. Always helpful to have your pin cushion handy. Doesn't always work that way in here. I'm just going to pin this with this because I'm really quite interested in how you can make things that are not necessarily just flat pieces of art. So there, look at that. I have made that where it's easiest to see, possibly there. It looks like a vase of daffodils. I think that's really quite nice. You could put perhaps a little circle of wood inside, and that would act as a support for it standing up. But I thought that was really quite neat. A lot of my work is 3D. It's about exploring form of things as well as sort of the decorative effect you can get with stitched and fabric, and so that is quite exciting to see it in that sort of shape. Maybe you'll think so too, I don't know. Either way, they're both very nice. I really enjoyed making all my little samples, and I thought these could make other things as well. You could actually have a series of brooches. You could put them together and make a little cluster of a clustered sort of daffodil brooch. You can make them different sizes. Obviously, you might not want to make them that size. You can make big ones. If you want to make really giant daffodils, go ahead. I thought you could be ready for next year's Easter bonnet and have them in your hair, should you so desire. So I think there's lots of possibilities there, and I've just really enjoyed doing it. So I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I don't know what's going to happen next week. Who knows? I'm going to put my yellow fabrics away now. I feel as though I'm done with yellow. I've got a couple of possibilities that I might share with you next week, but you'll just have to wait and see, won't you? So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give me a thumbs up if you like my video, and do subscribe if you haven't done so already, because that helps spread the word of my channel and gets it to more people, which would be a really lovely thing. I hope you enjoy watching my videos, and it's just been great. Oh, I know what I was going to say was, would you like to leave me a comment as to which of these you like, and if so, why, if there's a preference that you have. This is the embellished one. This is number 1, and this is number 2, which is the just completely stitched piece. Do leave me a comment below, because I'm really interested in how other people see things and what you might feel about these that's different to what I'm seeing, because it's really quite nice to do that, I think. So there we go, that's it for this week. I will see you again next week in my studio. Have a lovely, relaxing and creative week wherever you are and whatever you're doing, and I'll see you again soon.